Hello,
everybody.
everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Star Bros podcast. Wow, it has been a long time since I've said that. A very long time. Like a month and a half, I think.
All
That
right,
long.
relax a little bit.
No, I'm just shocked by how long it's been.
This is
Where
not
have you
that kind of.
been?
Where have I been?
Yeah,
You talking to me or are you talking to the audience?
I'm talking to well, I guess I'm talking to both of you right now, but at the moment, only you can answer me. So you have to tell me, where have you been?
I've been around. I've been enjoying my summer like a lot of people.
Okay, good. I think
Went
I
to
have been too.
what
I don't
did you
know,
do this?
actually.
What did you do this summer?
I've just been in school and we went to Missouri. That was, I think, the last time we recorded was before I went to Missouri, which was like early July.
Yeah,
So it's
it,
really been a long time for me.
it's been a while, but it's good to be back. Doesn't it feel good to be back?
It does. It's good to be back talking Star Wars and
Mm-hmm.
talking about Ahsoka now, which will be a
New
lot of fun.
new stuff. We have new stuff to talk about.
New content is always good to have. By the way,
Yeah.
that voice that you hear that's so ominous in the background is my bros, Jan Solo. I almost forgot. What's your name again, man?
Oh man, and the other voice that you hear that is perfectly pleasant and not ominous at all is my bro host Ben Skywalker.
I like how I go for the jugular and you're just like, whoa, man, that's uncalled for.
Uncalled for.
Sorry about that.
No problem. No
But
problem.
seriously, how have you been? Tell the listeners how you've been for the last month and a half.
Dude, I've been good. I haven't been in school like you have. I commend you for all the hard work you're doing to better yourself and get your massage therapy degree. Um, what do we do? We went to the beach a couple times. Um, you know, just
Yeah,
typical summer stuff, a couple of cookouts,
yeah,
a little bit of social time. It's been too hot, man. It's been way too hot in the
yes.
Philly area. Speaking of Philly, this is episode 76.
That is impressive. I didn't even make that connection. Good
Yeah.
job.
So most of our major roadways in the area, and this doesn't make it confusing at all,
No.
have 76 in them.
Why? There's got to be a reason why. Even the basketball team's called the 76ers.
Yeah.
Why? There's
Nobody
got to be
knows. That's the
nobody.
weirdest thing. Nobody
Oh,
knows.
oh
Yeah.
well. Well, to our foreign listeners, if you go and Google 1776, maybe you'll find out why. But we're not going to get very patriotic on this, our 76th episode. We are instead going to talk about Ahsoka,
Yeah.
which we've been excited to talk about. And we're going to make a couple of changes to the format of our episodes.
Okay.
The break and time away got us thinking about what it is that we wanted to be and wanted to cover and do. And
What we want to do when we grow up, what we should do with
yeah,
our lives.
yeah. And we're still figuring that out. But for the time being,
Yeah.
we're realizing, it's a lot to cover the news. And then you get into like 30 minutes into the episode. And now we're getting to what we wanted to talk about. Let's just get right into it.
Yeah.
So, if you want to get the news, you can go over to Shoot the Poodoo because they'll always cover newsworthy stuff. But I think part of it too is I realized like what's been all the news in the last month and a half. Like most of it has just been like getting ready for Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Well, like kind of. I mean, the strikes have kind of put a damper on things. You can't do any press tours or anything, but you got trailers and you got a couple of teasers here and there, and then of course the leak that not the leak, but the announcement that they're going to drop on Tuesdays, which I love so much, by the way.
You do? Okay. Why is that?
Well, partly because then I'm not the one in the group chat that hasn't seen it yet.
Yeah, because so just for a little bit of context, we have a lot of friends who are able to get themselves up at 3 a.m. Eastern time to watch
Or never go to sleep, one or the other.
Or neme go to sleep. I don't know. But
Chris
either
is
way,
a vampire, he says.
we wake up in the morning and everybody's seen the episode, and it's like, all right, well, like your options are: do you watch it before work? Like, do you drag yourself out of bed an hour early to watch it before work, which I've done with like Mando episodes and stuff
I
like
did
that
that for
before.
Book of Boba Fett, and I couldn't do it after that.
It's hard to do for most of us. Or you wait till the next day, and then you're trying to avoid all of the normal social media accounts that you love following, that you enjoy kind of like seeing what their take is and all that stuff. And so you're just sort of like shut down for a day. Um, and by the way, we try to observe all of those like embargoes of like, we're not going to post anything about Ahsoka for a couple of days after the episode comes out. Like, we don't want to spoil anybody's good time.
Right.
But when it came out at 3:00 in the morning Eastern time, I felt like we were always playing catch up. Now
Yeah.
it comes out still after my bedtime, but I think I can do it. I think I can sit after 9 to watch a new episode of Ahsoka.
It is after your bedtime. I know that. And I know that this one is a little bit tougher because you had 2 episodes to cover.
Didn't
But
make it.
and you didn't make it. Did you make it through 1?
No.
You didn't even make it through 1. I was gonna say, I was hopeful for you that, from here on out when they're releasing on Tuesdays at 9 o'clock, that it's just 1 episode and you can get through that.
Well,
But
I think this week I will. But what I wanted to do, I wanted to sit down and watch 2 episodes of Ahsoka, and I was getting into it, and I was like, I can feel my eyelids getting heavy.
yeah.
The 4 cheesesteaks that I ate for dinner weren't sitting well, and I was just getting a little bit sleepy. And so I said, tomorrow
How
is
many of them were
Ahsoka day.
wrapped in pizza?
All of them.
All of them. Whoa,
Yes.
okay, overachiever here. Yeah, that's a bit of a heavy dinner. I don't expect you to stay awake or even alive through much longer than a 1
Dude,
episode or 2 episodes of Ahsoka.
you know what I saw recently? There's a place in Quakertown, Pennsylvania. Quick aside, our first divergence away from the main topic here. There's a place in Quakertown, Pennsylvania that has, I think it's a 6-pound cheesesteak. And
It's uncalled for.
if you eat it in 30 minutes and the dessert it comes with and the French fries, it's free.
I mean, that's
So you know
it
what
better
I did?
be. Yeah.
I watched a video of a man eat it in like 21 minutes. I watched the whole thing.
All 21 minutes of it.
Yeah. Yes. Because
Oh,
he
man.
narrates the whole thing.
When does the timer start? Okay, you know what? We can't get into all the details of that, but
No.
that's just insanity.
No,
right?
but I'll if I ever try it, I'll report back.
Okay, and if you ever get a free lunch out of it, I will profess to not know who you are.
That's one of those things where if you win, you're still a loser. Okay.
I hope that guy's not listening.
No, it was awesome.
Yeah, I would imagine. No, we were talking about Ahsoka.
Yep.
And I was, letting everybody know we're not going to be covering the news, at least for the next a little bit. I think it's something we just want to test out, and we just want to cover the content of the episode and get right into it, so that we aren't wasting your time anymore.
Yeah.
So,
and you brought up a really good point, which is that our friends at Broaxium, who host Shooting the Poodoo on Sunday nights, they're covering stuff right away. Like,
there's no G in it. It's just shooting
the Poodoo,
shooting
Los Poodoos. They cover
photos in Spanish.
Yeah. They cover it as soon as it comes out. Whatever the news is, they'll be talking about it. So we'll let them handle the news. You're in good hands with them. They're the Kent Brockmans of the Star Wars news world.
The Ron Burgundies.
Yes.
He didn't even laugh at my potos. Anyway, yes, go find your news coverage there. We are just going to jump right into Ahsoka. And again, like I said, we were a little bit surprised to be told just a week in advance, I think, that we would be getting on Tuesdays. Again, made my night when I read it, whatever time of day it was, just because I don't have a bedtime of 9 o'clock. Mine's more like probably midnight. It should be sooner. I know it should be sooner than that, but it's not.
Dude,
so yeah,
do you know how crazy that is to me?
I'm sure it is. Yes, I mean, I don't know what time you're waking up, but it must be much earlier than I am.
I'm assuming so, but I haven't seen that part of, like, I haven't seen anything after like 10 p.m. in like months.
Oh, I mean, because you're too busy partying on the weekends.
Yeah, I
just
party.
Catching up.
Yeah, I party in the morning, lunchtime party. In bed.
Let's get into Ahsoka.
Let's do that.
Instead of our sleeping routines, let's get into Ahsoka.
Yeah.
All right, we got 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Master and Apprentice and Toil and Trouble.
Oh my gosh. Excellent episodes.
Very good episodes. I guess let's just start. We're going to go through each episode one at a time, starting with Master and Apprentice. just tell me your overall vibes to both of these episodes, and let's clarify, like, you know, a lot of people were talking about like this being season 5 of Rebels, and
Hmm.
I'd say to some degree it did feel that way. That, I was talking to my wife afterwards. She was like, I didn't know, some of the characters, like I didn't follow it on, but it was good. I liked it. So there are some, I think, backstories that they don't really get into. Like when they introduce Ezra, if you don't know who that is, I really understand, like, okay, what's the big deal here? But I, I I felt, at least, if you were coming in fresh, and this is what I want your take on, like if you were coming in fresh, you didn't feel completely alienated. Like
No.
they did enough to tell you what was going on, to tell you why certain characters mattered, or you know, um why you should care about them, and did a good job catching you up. Would you agree?
I would agree. I think they did a lot of good like orientation work. Like we started the first episode with a crawl, and the
Yeah.
crawling text orients you to like where you are in the story. Um, Very Star Warsy. They capitalize certain words, and
Hmm.
instantly you kind of know what the setting is on a grand scale. And then you zoom
Yeah.
in, you start to see some of these characters, and you can pick up on, all right, there's something between Ahsoka and Sabine. There's some type of baggage there. Some of their conversations, I think, showed the dynamic that they had. But I can see how some people will be like, all right, well, how do we get here though? But a lot of stories do that, and then you kind of discover it along the way, especially as
Yeah.
those character relationships start to evolve, and we don't know where they're going to go from here, which is kind of cool.
Well, what was interesting to me too was that it was their choice of the intro. It was, one, the use of the color red
Hmm.
instead of the yellow.
That typical
Um,
gold color, yeah.
yeah, exactly. Especially given that this is a hero story, Ahsoka. So this isn't Thrawn's story. I mean, Thrawn's going to be a big part of it, but Ahsoka is the main character, and it's starting off with very evil overtones, using the red colors. Even just like
And
I
we
thought it
we
was
see,
weird, the alignment of the text of the scroll
yeah, I didn't pick
was
up
like
on that.
left aligned. It wasn't centered. It wasn't like
Hmm.
it felt off, almost like they were trying to throw you off kilter a little bit.
Okay. Huh. I didn't pick up on that, but maybe subconsciously in some way, like it just puts you on edge a little bit. But I also thought
Yeah,
it was interesting where you don't jump into the story and see Ahsoka wherever she is and whatever she's doing. You jump in and immediately you see the villains at work.
yeah, that's right.
A- and you get to know them a little bit before you orient to some of the heroes in the story. And in fact, you
Yeah,
see the villains being successful in their mission right off the bat.
yeah, exactly. Like basically, they had no trouble
No,
dispatching any of those. Um, well, they're not rebels anymore. They're
the New Republic.
the New Republic. Yeah.
A lot of
Um,
people online took issue with the New Republic's ability to transport a prisoner.
how so?
They blew it with Moff Gideon, and now they've blown it with Morgan Elsbeth, and there's probably other examples. But basically, if
Mando season 1, the whole prison break episode.
the whole prison ship,
Yeah,
basically. So yeah, if you want to bust out a friend, let the New Republic transport them from A to B.
yeah. That's just who's guarding it. New Republic. All right, we're in. Doesn't matter what we're stealing. We're in.
But you know what? That to me was, I think, central to one of the themes I'm starting to pick up on here,
What's that?
which is that the New Republic has won the big conflict. The good guys have won against the Empire, but they're getting a little complacent. They're getting a little bit cocky. And I think one of the things that at first I thought was maybe a little bit silly, but then later on I kind of looked at it because I mentioned to you earlier, I did a rewatch,
Uh
watched the
huh.
first two episodes, came back today, watched them again. Um, if the captain of the transport ship knows right off the bat that it can't be Jedi on that shuttle who want to board, that he knows that there's somebody from the Empire, why even let them on board?
And why let them on board? But also, why like
Why go
go
down
try
and
to go
meet
toe to
them?
toe with them? Yeah, meet them like with your entourage that just have a few blasters when you know what they're capable of.
That to me is like the first signal in this series that New Republic is vulnerable because it's gotten a little bit confident in its victory.
I don't know if I call it confident. Like I don't know if that's a word I would use because it might not. It just is a there's a little bit of arrogance. But I think it's more just ineptitude.
Maybe
Like
inept. And we saw in the last season of The Mandalorian the fact that it's gotten a little bureaucratic
yeah,
and it's not as easy just to sort of like pick up and go and react as maybe
yeah,
it was when it was still a rebellion.
and
So,
they're still using a lot of people that were part of the empire. I mean, what they've basically done
right.
is said like, okay, you all seem like you didn't really have that much loyalty. You were just in it for, as they talked about later, greed, which is there's some great lines there about, this isn't for them, it was just about greed. It was just about rising to the top and gaining as much as you can.
We
And
can
the
unpack
empire,
that.
well, yeah, and the empire was better at that than the New Republic was. I mean,
Yeah.
Mando season 3 did a lot to expose some of the bureaucracy and again the ineptitude that I think is apparent right now, where you just got people who aren't really vying for power, but who really don't know what to do with the power they have.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what this ship was. It was just again, this captain was a bit arrogant. He came down there and was like, "You should have." Yeah, I think I wrote down, "You should have surrendered when the empire collapsed."
Yeah.
That's a really I wrote that was a really bad line to say to anyone that's carrying a lightsaber,
Yeah.
especially if they're potential Sith.
He tried to do like a gotcha moment
Yeah,
and he ended up losing a whole bunch of people in his crew as a result.
the entire crew.
And I felt like as soon as like I knew something was going to go sideways, I just looked at the one Mon Calamari guy in the background, and I was like, "That poor
Yeah.
guy's going to get it." Like he's just he's just trying to help. Like I just pictured him like sending, you know, hologram messages back home to his family, like, "Ah, it's cool, it's a good job, got benefits." And
And
now this turkey decides that he wants to go toe to toe with some rogue Jedi.
I mean, it wouldn't have ended well for him anyway because I mean, they have two Force users with lightsabers coming at them. Like
Yeah,
they're outmatched.
yeah,
Like their only chance would have been, oh, you want Morgan Elsbeth? Yeah, she's in that chamber over there. Go get her,
yeah.
and please let us be.
Yeah. It,
you
it might
know,
have worked. Who knows? Because it
might
seems
not,
like
it might have, may not have.
it seems like Balin has a little bit of a soft spot. It seems like he's a little bit sentimental.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, Morgan Elsbeth calls him out for that later on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know. I felt the same. Like I don't know if I would call it sentimental, but he's definitely not good. But I didn't feel like he was terrible either. Like
Yeah.
so you've got Baylan and Shin is his apprentice's name,
Hmm.
um, who are very much deploying the
His Padawan.
Padawan. I was gonna say master and apprentice, and so this title of the episode is really interesting because you think at first it's talking about the master and apprentice being Baylan and Shin, and again they're using that terminology, so very much could be. But then later on, we're introduced to Ahsoka and Sabine, and that's another master apprentice relationship, just one
Yeah.
that's soured. So yeah, we've got a couple of juxtapositions going on here.
Yeah. And I didn't catch it until somebody online pointed it out, but she does have a Padawan braid.
Oh, I didn't catch that either.
And then I went back and I looked, and sure enough, when she's fighting with Sabine, you can see it draped over her shoulder, sort of falls down a couple of times. Other parts when she's walking around, you can see it. So,
Wow.
yeah,
You're talking about Shin, right?
Shin.
Oh, cool.
Shin has a Padawan braid.
Well, I'm gonna go watch it again
Yeah,
and pick that up. That's
yeah.
really cool. Um,
I'm a huge fan of that duo, by the way. Like that could be a really cool part of the story.
and one that doesn't go as you would expect it to, where bad guys lose and die. Like there could be something that comes from the end of this. Maybe one of them does or something, but um again, it's really we're just diving in really deep into this relationship here. But at the beginning of the second episode, uh Shin was asking Balin, like, okay, what is in this for us?
Hmm.
If we do find Thrawn, like, what do we get out of it? And he says power.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very dark side theme. But
Big time, big time. And that led me to think about just a thing that I picked up reading a couple of books about spies, because I went on this whole kick where I was really interested in spies, and um, there was a whole section about what motivates people to be bad guys, what motivates people to be double agents and stuff like that. And apparently the KGB used to have a list of different motivations, and in English it translates to,
Sorry.
why are you laughing?
All I thought of was Dwight Schrute.
Dwight Schrute.
Wasn't there one part where he like knocks on the door? It's like the KGB answers to nobody or something.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh no, that wasn't Dwight that did that. That
was it Jim that did it to
Dwight? It was Jim that did it to Dwight and slapped him or something. Sorry, go back.
That's okay. So they had an acronym, MICE, M-I-C-E. Okay. So they said 4 things can motivate somebody to be a bad guy and work for them: money, ideology, coercion, or ego. Those were the things that they looked to exploit to turn somebody from the good guys to the bad guys.
Interesting. Okay. Which one was Anakin? Coercion?
He was coerced.
He had a bit of an ego, but it wasn't really the driver.
It doesn't have to be one.
Right. Okay. It could be more.
It can be coercion and ego.
Okay.
That seems about right for Anakin.
That's kind of cool.
But you're right. It's a very not Jedi thing to say, to sort of lust for power like that. And to tell your Padawan, like, this is what we get at. We get to be, at the top of the heap when all is said and done.
Yeah.
And she's sort of indifferent to it. Like, she's like, okay, I'll go to Corellia. See ya.
Yeah.
By the way, the other thing
she very much the apprentice, I would say. Like, yes, master. Okay, master. I will do what you say, master. Like
a good contrast to Sabine and Ahsoka. A good contrast to Anakin and Ahsoka. The bad guys happen to be the ones kind of being disciplined and organized about how they treat these relationships.
What surprises me more than anything is how they're just continuing to use very Jedi-like ideologies.
Yeah.
If we can say that word again. Again, the master apprentice, like, she's super obedient.
Yeah.
But she's almost too obedient, like almost like dark side obedient, if you were asking me. Like,
it's a little blind trust.
It is, yeah. Where like you get the sense that she's not fully on board.
Yeah.
But
or letting somebody else do the thinking for her.
Right.
Which how do you grow to be an independent rogue Jedi, or however you define yourself, if you don't make any of your own decisions?
Right.
But another thing I was going to mention is, like, zooming out of the story here, a terrific performance of Baylan by Ray. What's his last name?
Stevenson.
Ray Stevenson, who tragically passed away. Never got to see the premiere of the show.
Right.
And
just like 2 months ago, right?
Just very recently. So our hearts go out to his fans and friends and family. A tragic story. Seemed like a younger guy too.
3 months, May 21st. Yeah. Wow. 58 is how old he was. So definitely lost too soon. But I think I mean, I love the little things like they put at the very end of the episode, like for our friend Ray.
Yeah.
Which was a nice touch. But I hope I hope they do more of that. Like, do it at the very end of the season again. It's
really nice.
Remind us of, especially once we've seen the full performance.
But the girl who plays Shin, she's Ukrainian, and I went to her social media, and she's like posting pictures from bomb shelters and stuff.
Wow, seriously?
Yeah.
I was wondering, and looking at her, I was like, she looks very like Serbian or, Ukrainian, Russian, like something in that area.
What does that mean? What do they look like?
Well, she has the complexity.
The complexity.
What do you mean? What does that mean?
I'm just trying to put you in the hot seat.
You are, and I'm just like, what do you mean? But she definitely looks like she comes from that region, but but yeah, I was just really
As
curious.
as a Polish person, I was like, I need to see where she's from because I feel like she's like
Yeah,
from the neighborhood.
yeah, and then she really was.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that oh, I looked up too. She's exactly 11 years and 1 day younger than me.
Really? Okay.
But anyway,
So you guys almost have the same birthday.
no, did I say 11 days? What did I
You said
bet?
11 years in one day.
11 years and 1 day. Yeah, that exactly. So yeah, almost had the same birthday. We're off by 1 day.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, so I mean, she's pretty good. She kind of
She's
plays the
she's really good. She plays it really well. But yeah, it seems it's interesting that both of those characters are kind of like their real lives have so much tragedy in them, unfortunately.
yeah.
Um,
I wrote down too that there's the scene where, she has the little droid that's out there scanning and everything. Flashbacks to Maul on Tatooine in episode 1 doing the same thing.
100%.
Did you see that? Or was that just
100%.
me?
No, I wonder how intentional some of that stuff is, but that really felt like it.
I think it is a bit intentional because I feel like it is Dave Filoni be like, fans of the whole trilogy are going to see this and be like, "Oh, that looked familiar, or that sounded familiar," or just and pick up on those type of things. So that it can't just be us. I bet we could go to the interwebs on the social channels and find other people talking about that too.
Probably. You'll just have to show me how to do that. I usually just go to Ask Jeeves and then put in how do I get in my email?
Or like I was trying to find my password to an hour or so ago.
But going back to that probe droid, so one of the
Yeah,
things that's really exciting about this series is we get to see some stuff that we've seen animated before, but in live action.
yeah.
Like, what did you think of Lethal and like Ezra's like crow nest and
Yeah,
all that cool stuff?
I wrote down a few things. I kept writing this person returns, that person returns, and it was the first 20 minutes or so just felt like, hey, we're gonna introduce you to all these things that you know and recognize real quick. And so Hu Yang returning was really cool to see, the
With
um
David Tennant doing his voice,
David Tennant doing his voice. I was like,
Doctor Who,
wow, that's really neat. I
and
remember also
I'm
from Harry Potter.
yeah, and I'm not yeah, good call. I'm not too familiar with David Tennant's work like beyond Harry Potter. Like I never really watched Doctor Who or anything,
Yeah.
but people were pointing out that some of the lines that he has in the show, they're like, that's got to be him ad-libbing. That is so him. And I don't
Yeah,
know, I don't know for sure, but I'll take people's word for it. If he's bringing some of like his personal style to the character, I think that's really cool.
I will say with Hu Yang, I really liked just the way that they showed another way to show a droid emote. That's something we've talked about a lot with droids in some of our past episodes when we get to them, but they do something unique every single time. And for me, I
Hmm.
kept looking at his
His
eyelids,
eyes,
his eyes, yes,
yeah,
and he had like these little covers that would come up and down in little places. Like one of them would turn on its side and like go in and I'm kind of
create
for our
expressions.
create expressions. Yeah, yeah, he would look sad when he would do that, or
Yeah,
concerned, or worried. So
yeah.
like it added just a layer to his character, which I loved.
I feel
Um,
like I feel like he's the guy that like you work with who says what he's thinking a little bit too much, and you're just like, shut up, dude. Like,
well,
not
and
helpful.
he's super proud too because he's first of all he survived Order 66, which the droid that helps get Padawans and younglings their lightsabers, you'd think would not survive that,
Yeah,
but he did, and he's with Ahsoka now, and it's his point when he was like, "I'm still 75% original parts" or something like that. Like
show off.
he's a bit of a proud robot and proud droid robot.
Hmm.
Um, but it's still coming from like a place of like because he is so old, like it's not I don't interpret it as pride. It's very much just like I've been through a lot and seen a lot. Like I'm very honored and very grateful too,
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, maybe there is like a little bit of gratitude there.
Yeah,
And I'm guessing he's probably survived a lot if he's been around for over 500 years. He says it to Sabine at one point, I've seen so many different Jedi and lightsabers over 500 years. And
right.
by the way, you're the worst of them all. or whatever he says.
To Sabine, yeah, that was pretty good. It was big blow, but it was good.
That was pretty harsh.
Yeah.
But he's saying what he's thinking, and he's speaking from real experience. So
Yeah.
you can't totally set that aside and be like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
I felt some real K2SO vibes,
Yeah.
which you think of like the caliber of voice acting done there, and it's just so nice that they're going and getting some great voice actors to do these droids lately. Like I was rewatching Solo last week, I think, and L3, and getting Phoebe, I'm forgetting her full name. But the actress that plays L3, and
Yeah.
just again, getting great actors to play them and not just like, oh, let's throw away like whatever. So I'm excited to see David Tennant come in and do the voice of him, because so far he's stealing every scene that he's in.
So, speaking of droids, here's another thing that had people buzzing on the interwebs. People were like, wait, I can understand Chopper now. Like,
Yes. Yes, you can.
and people at first it was like a question, like, wait, can I understand Chopper now? And
you listen, you're like, I do understand him.
I'm picking up what he's putting down, so to speak.
Which I think that's just Dave Filoni voicing him again, because
It is.
he voiced him in the what's it called, in the Rebels series, right?
But it was a little bit different. It was way more droid like. That here it's there's something like human about like the intonation of the voice and the phrasing.
Yeah, I will say, like, I did feel like you could do that in the animated series too, but I think you're right. There is a little bit more ease in understanding him than before.
Yeah.
Which I absolutely love. And I mean, we're jumping around a ton, but while we're on Chopper, gosh, it like doesn't miss a beat. His translation from animation over to live action nailed it.
Perfection.
Even like with the like him doing his little hand motions and stuff, like really sold it.
By the way, somebody else in the interwebs pointed this out, and I wish I could give credit because I can't remember who it was, but what does he recommend that they do when they're chasing that shuttle off of Corellia?
What?
He tells Hera to shoot it down.
Okay.
And she says, we can't. She says something to the effect of like, we're over the city. Like there's innocent people down there. And somebody pointed out what Chopper's proposing is literally a war crime. And if that's where we're starting with him, like we're going to get some good Chopper in this series.
We're going to get some great stuff. And again, it was so cool that they just kind of slowly revealed all these different characters. So going back to your original point of like seeing Lothal, getting Huyang was really great. Then getting Hera right after that, and we'll go back to her in a second. Then Lothal, then Sabine, and Lothal looks just like it did in the animated series with that highway going out to the communications tower. Like it just was perfect. And then getting the Lothcat, like as soon as the Lothcat comes on screen, my wife was like, "I want that."
It's the new Grogu for sure. Today actually, Disney was reposting a whole bunch of Lothcat pictures and videos and stuff like that, and I think they know that people are in love.
Yeah, it's the new Borg.
Real quick, I'll mention one thing about Lothal, and then maybe we can jump back to the first episode and talk about some of the action, some of the story as it unfolds.
Yeah.
We'll get back to what she was working on, but there's a moment where Sabine is in Ezra's crow nest in the communication tower thing, and she cracks the code, and she goes outside to look up at the stars. And that was like a goosebumps moment for me. Of like, she figured the thing out and she had a direction to look in. And what did she want to do? She wanted to go and like see with her own eyes where that was in the sky. Something about that just gave me goosebumps. But speaking of that map, I just thought it was like a really nice poetic moment and just a cool thing to do. Like she wasn't just completely absorbed with solving the puzzle of what it was.
Yeah.
Like she wanted to see like what it really meant, like where it was out in the universe. But going back, so we first meet Ahsoka when she is looking for this puzzle sphere map thing I don't know if they
Yeah.
give it an official name. Like serious Indiana Jones vibes. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, like just the archaeological kind of like sifting through this unknown civilization's tomb of some kind,
Well,
looking for
we
this thing.
find out that it was an old Night Sisters temple.
Yeah, what a cool twist that is.
Yeah.
Um, and then finding out that there's a whole nother galaxy that they would have to jump to in
Yeah.
order to go and track Thrawn down. But some cool action in that first scene. That
Mm-hmm.
self-destruct sequence with those droids that she encounters.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, so we'll get into like one of the first complaints that I saw on
Mm.
Twitter or whatever it's called these days. Some people were
X.
like,
That's true.
oh, well, the self-destruct was really slow. Like what?
I mean, okay, look, I will admit, I thought something similar, but I thought about two things. I was like, wow, that's a big self-destruct. Like that
Well,
thing
that's the
packs a
thing.
punch.
It doesn't have to be that fast if it's going to be that destructive. Like,
Oh,
sure,
yeah.
go ahead and run for a little bit. You're not going to get away from it.
Yeah, if it was just like this little like explosion, then I'd say that thing should have been able to go off much quicker. But at the scale of the explosion,
Yeah.
my thought was it takes a little bit for something like that to warm up.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense too.
that made sense to me when I saw the scale of it. And I do believe like something like that small could pack a punch like that. So um but anyway, that was one thought. Um and the second is backing up to that. Did you ever see the movie? It was an animated one. We watch it a bunch sometimes. It's like 10 plus years old now. Megamind.
No, no.
They have a whole joke running of like their big death ray is warming up and like the
It's
sun
like
is
that.
it's based off it's using the power of the sun and the joke is like the sun is warming up. But anyway, it's like it did make me think of that. It's like sometimes like when you're gonna use a big death ray like this, it's gonna take some time to warm up.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Anyway, I shut that person on X down.
Okay.
And they'll never know about it. But to your point, that was a really cool opening scene. And to me, I think if you're going to open a scene or open a character's introduction with some action like that, you got to make it good.
Yeah.
And they made it good.
They made it good.
Specifically with her doing the whole like zipping with her lightsabers around to pull them underneath, like
That was cool.
that was just really cool. So I felt like they really nailed her intro.
Yeah, agreed. And then she jumps on her ship and which by the way, I looked it up. T61974. It's the call sign of the ship that she's on.
Mm-hmm.
And Dave Filoni apparently was born in 1974. So I don't know if that's him putting himself in there or what.
Maybe. Probably. He deserves that.
Probably.
But I also like that she's continuing to use the Fulcrum call sign.
She is.
Which was really cool.
Very cool.
Again, little things like that to bring back memories of Rebels. Hera, let's go to her for a second. Because when we're introduced to her, I think there was a lot of people reacting when they saw her online. Like it's Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Like she's just great all around. Great actress. But I don't know. I thought she looked great, and more importantly, she really embodied the character really well. Like Hera's a mom. Like she's she literally is now. We have to assume, even though we haven't seen the kids, she is. But to Sabine and to Ezra, she was essentially their mom. It was like raising them, and she took very much like this maternal persona seriously in
protective,
Rebels.
Caring, smart and capable, all of that. And I think like once we saw her and then we got Sabine, I started thinking that this show might be, over the course of this season, a lot about the dynamic between those three characters,
right?
Their history, where they are now, and where it's all going. And I agree. I think she's terrific in it. When I first saw a picture of her dressed as Hera, I thought it was Rachel Brosnahan, who I'm a big fan of, who plays the marvelous Mrs. Maisel. She's going to be playing Lois Lane in an upcoming Superman movie.
Cool.
And I was like, That's such a great casting. Rachel Brosnahan, so good. She's gonna absolutely kill it as Hera. Not disappointed, but now I have a new dream casting for Rachel Brosnahan in Star Wars. I would love to see her play Aphra if they ever make
Oh,
a live action Dr. Aphra. But
I
that's a
could
little
see
bit of
that
an aside.
working.
Yeah. Speaking of actors, Clancy Brown is sort of a glutton for Star Wars roles, isn't he?
Which role does he play?
He plays Ryder,
Okay.
who is given the introduction at the ceremony with the mural, and then
Yeah.
Sabine doesn't show up. He also plays Berg on the prison ship,
Okay.
the horned red guy.
Yeah.
He does the
He
voice
looked
of
familiar.
yeah, he's Berg. He does the voice
Okay.
of Savage Opress.
Oh my gosh, really?
And near and dear to my heart, he also does the voice of Mr. Krabs on SpongeBob.
Maybe that's one of the other places. I was
Maybe
like, I
that's where
knew
you
that
know him from.
I've seen his face around Star Wars, but I was like, where have I seen it? I know I have. But I did Mr. Krabs, I think I also have seen his face there too. That's hilarious. um Makes it even better. Yeah, I mean, he was good too, but like you said, he just kind of finds a way to get in everywhere he can,
Yeah, and good
with
for
or
him.
without prosthetics.
Isn't it funny?
Um,
Like like when we went to Comic-Con, you can see the actors and they're doing a signing, and they have a banner behind them, and typically it's got like shots of their face and the different character roles that they've played. Like
mhm.
half his banner can be like Star Wars people,
Yeah, that's true.
and that who can really say that? Not many people at all.
I mean, unless you're D. Bradley Baker, and he can basically be like, "I was every clone,"
Right,
so
right.
top that,
You
guys.
can have a massive banner behind him.
Yeah.
But what did you think of how Sabine was introduced?
I loved it. I was another thing that I wrote down specifically was I loved her introduction. Um, I read a lot of reactions, early reactions before the episodes dropped, and a lot of them were praising um, Natasha Lubertizzo. I think I said the name right. Who plays Sabine. And I will say that I didn't see anything that was just like stellar over the top, like acting that I was, jaw on the floor or anything. But she, one, just like Mary Elizabeth Winstead, like embodying the character of a Hera really well and carrying over everything that we got out of her performance in the animated series. I felt the same thing with Sabine. Like she
Yeah,
really embodied her. She has a little bit of an edge, a little bit of an attitude, and like I'm going to do my own thing. Even though years have passed by, like she's continued to do whatever she wants and be that rebel at heart.
yeah.
And this first introduction was a perfect example of that. Also, the music. I love the music.
I was going to make mention of that because it's not like anything we've really heard in Star Wars before.
Why is it though that all the music is not sung in basic English?
I don't know.
It's always in an alien language.
That's a good
Always.
point. That's a good point. I don't know what they use to refer to that type of music that she was listening to, like, or that was playing when she was on the speeder bike. But it made me think of some of the audiobooks that I've listened to from the High Republic era, and when they talk about
Oh,
the Nihil,
Niall. Yes, I knew you were going to say that. Yep.
and when they go into battle, and for
Yeah.
those who haven't read it, they're sort of like these bad guy pirate type characters who are kind of the scourge of the galaxy at this time, before the era of Star Wars that we're in now.
Hmm.
But it says that they crank up this music. It's some type of like punk rock type of music.
Yeah.
And then
Specifically, one faction does. Yeah.
yeah, right, you're right. And I always wondered, like, I wonder what that sounds like. And this to me was like, it probably sounds something like that. Like just this hard driving, aggressive, like rebellious type of music.
Honestly, it reminded me of like my daughter likes to listen to like this Japanese music right now, and it reminded me a little
Really?
bit of that. Like I felt like I
No
was listening
kidding.
to her music. Yeah, it's really interesting.
Huh.
I'm not sure where she got it from. It might be because she's like obsessed with Kirby and a lot of Nintendo games right now.
Oh yeah, I like Kirby too.
Yeah, so that might be where it's coming from.
That's cool.
No, great introduction, really cool stunt that she pulls. And she plays well. The dynamic between her and Ahsoka is tough. Like there's some really good lines. There's the one where Sabine says something like, "Yeah, I guess I should have made a good Jedi," and Ahsoka was like, "Yes, you should have." Like there's some real cold blood there, despite this love for Ezra that's bringing them together to then search
Mm-hmm.
for Thrawn. Um, that's that's a tough relationship, and we don't really get any insights into it because the series never really gave us a really good Ahsoka Sabine
Yeah.
relationship build out.
Well, I think we're going to get it here, and I think we're going to learn a little bit more about the past, and we're going to definitely see how things evolve for them. But what I thought was interesting about their first touch point was Ahsoka brought some baggage because Ahsoka was coming to her to kind of use her for something, to
That's
use
true.
her, not to reconnect, not hey, how have you been? And Sabine probably picked up on that and still said something that was like a little bit of an olive branch moment where she said, "So where do you call home these days?" Just a totally innocent kind of question that I think carries a lot of like, "Hey, I'm extending my hand to you.
Yeah.
This doesn't just have to be business. I care about you. I care about what's going on with you and whatever." And Ahsoka kind of blows her off. "Yeah, I live on the ship. Yeah, it's fine for me. All right,
Yeah.
let's do this thing." "No, you can't take the map." So
Which, by the way, I'm on Ahsoka's side with that.
I
Like,
think, yeah. Well,
this
you
is
see what
you don't want to.
happens.
You see what happens, but you also don't want to let this out of your sight. And yeah, Ahsoka was right to lay down that rule. This is just Sabine
Absolutely.
is just a rebel. That's all she is. She's still a rebel.
Absolutely. And but good comes from it. She ends up cracking the code, so to speak. She ends up
Sure.
opening it up. She ends up losing it.
Hmm.
She ends up confronting one of the bad guys and getting run through with the saber, which, by the way, who knew? All you have to do is go to the hospital. There was no hospital when Qui-Gon got run through with the saber.
Well, they were kind of alone all the way in that tucked away there. It's like you'd have to get there pretty quickly.
I guess so.
Um, yeah. I mean, I thought about that. Like, if the story wants you to survive, you'll survive, right?
Yeah.
but but I bet we could poke fun at that one all day. No, but I thought before we jump into the Sabine battle, the one other thing that I really liked was back after Sabine left and Ahsoka's talking to Hera. Uh, Ahsoka says something. She says, "Sometimes even the right reasons have the wrong consequences. What do we do
Mm,
then?" And they were
hmm.
talking about Ahsoka when she left the Order, and also leaving Sabine, and they're addressing this fact that yeah, when the going gets tough, or when more importantly her principles get really tried, Ahsoka's like, "I'm out, not
Yeah.
doing this," and it's admirable, but there's also the side that is like, well, you might have there might be some bad ripple effects from this, and one
Yeah.
that's a big ripple effect from her walking away from the Order is Anakin turning the dark side.
Yeah.
Um, and and so you kind of get a little glimpse into what she's going through psychologically right now with all of this. She's just feeling a lot of guilt that she's held on for a long time. But yeah, I guess did you take anything from that? Was there anything else that you thought of with that line, or um just I guess just where Ahsoka's head is at right now?
Well, yeah. So I think those are good points. It could be some foreshadowing too.
Yeah.
It could be something that's coming up in the next couple of episodes where I don't know. They've got. It seems like stories like this are always at a crossroads, and you have to make decisions. And sometimes the fallout of those things can be pretty heavy. So maybe it's a little bit of foreshadowing. I don't know. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, that's true. Um yeah, and then with the Sabine lightsaber battle for a sec. Uh the one I mean, Sabine held her own pretty well. And we know
I,
that she
I was
can
gonna I was gonna say that. Yeah.
we know that she can wield a lightsaber because she was trained to wield the dark saber under Kanan. But I was a little bit like I could see just by her stance that there was some rust, that she
Fair.
wasn't going to do very well in this battle. And So I wasn't surprised by the outcome of it. And it made me kind of like it a little bit that she, um, was brave enough to stand up, and even though she didn't really feel the most confident to take her on in that moment, she did it anyway. So it shows Sabine a lot about Sabine, but it also um, the little detail of just like watching her stance, watching the way she was standing. I was like, she's not sure what she's doing right now.
Yeah, but she dove into it head first. It was a little bit reckless, which is pretty on brand.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think I wasn't expecting it to end that way. I wasn't expecting her to win, but I wasn't expecting it to be that rough for her.
same. Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of people watching around the world were gasping during that scene, but thankfully they were able to get her to the hospital. But it also got me thinking, like for a moment there, like that, they're both sides are really willing to risk their lives to get this map so that they can get to wherever they think Thrawn is. But like
Mm,
realistically, like what the heck are you gonna do? Like that's a big bet to say, oh, if we bring Thrawn back, it's going to energize those who are sympathetic with the Empire and the little factions and bits of the Empire that are left over.
yeah.
Seems like a stretch. I don't know. Um, and yeah, maybe Ezra's the same place wherever he is, but like it seems like a little bit of wild goose chase.
Oh,
Like,
well, what do you
and, and
mean?
and maybe I'm coming off of like there was definite Last Jedi vibes of like where's the map to Luke Skywalker, and
Oh, sure. Yeah.
and then they find him and he's like, leave me alone, I don't care. And it's like,
I doubt Thrawn's going to be like that, but
is there going to be some version of that, where it's like we hope that this solves all of our problems and finds our friend, and the New Republic will transport Thrawn back to some prison colony, and then that ship will get captured too.
he'll be okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like, it seems very, not to be punny here, it seems very grand. Like, oh, this is just going to take care of things for both sides. Like whoever gets there first wins.
Yeah. Well, and that's like one's fighting for Ezra, the other is fighting for Thrawn. Like
Yeah.
they each want something different out of the same thing,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, you might get both. We'll get to that in a second because let's get into the second episode
Sure.
and talk about a few things that happened there. Toil and Trouble. Um,
Very witchy title.
Very like kind of like Morgan Elsbeth, right? A night
Yes.
sister, very witchy.
And I believe the line comes from Macbeth. I believe it's like three witches at a cauldron cooking, and
yeah,
they're saying this. Yeah.
yeah, that's true. That is true. And I kept thinking about like why they named the episode the way that they did. But I couldn't think of anything other than all the stuff that happens on Corellia and some of the revelations that we get of like the Empire isn't in charge, but remnants of the Empire exist and
there are
still
loyalists.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. But it was also really cool that we were going to Corellia, right? This is the home of Han Solo.
Yeah, and it seemed like a nicer, cleaner Corellia. Like it seemed like the sun was about to break through. Like it seemed like it was a nice day on Corellia.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the same gloomy industrial vibe. Definitely still industrial, but
Yes.
maybe a little bit more polished to it when we're seeing it now.
Yeah, and it hasn't come any further from its days during the Empire, right? It's still serving the same purpose of
Yep.
Building all these ships now for the Republic, and you've got the guy that is giving them that inspection, Ahsoka and Hera, and basically they're saying like, hey, well, I'm in it for my investors. I'm just in it for whatever makes us money and keeps us front. We don't have loyalty to one or the other. We just,
we're a business.
We're a business. Yeah. Obviously that shows that they really don't care who's ordering it and don't care if they're breaking any sanctions in the process. But
nope.
But no, again, it was just really cool to get to Corellia and also to see Hera in action again too, not just hologram Hera.
Totally. And flying around in the Phantom, not the Ghost.
The Phantom, yeah, which
Yeah.
means that we're gonna get the Ghost soon.
I hope so, because I've always just loved the Ghost. I think that's one of my like top 2 favorite ships in all of Star Wars, believe it or
W
not.
Well, you can go and order one on Hasbro right now.
Really? A
Yeah,
Ghost
it's like one of those
or a
crowdsourced one.
Phantom?
No, the Ghost.
Oh, cool.
With the detachable Phantom, I think.
No way. Very
Yeah,
cool.
it was one of those that was, like, trying to reach a certain target of people for them to be able to build it, and,
Mm.
it's reached that target, and I think it's now reaching the targets to get, like, other characters added on too, so anyway, you can
That's
go
such a
and get one now.
it's such a weird thing though, isn't it? Like, we'll make it, but you guys pay us first to make it.
Well, the idea is that they just wanna make sure before they make it that people are gonna buy it, so it's like
I get it's taking the risk out of it for them.
yeah, and it's like a big one. It's not like a little package toy of like, "Here you go, here's your little ship." Like, it's
What?
huge. Did I lose you on that one? I lost you on. I found the way to crack him. This is what happens when I keep him up past his bedtime.
Okay. All right.
You okay there,
Okay.
man?
I'm fine.
Okay. No, you're not. Folks, we're gonna take a small break here while
No, we're
Jan
not.
catches his
No, we're
breath
not.
again.
We're gonna roll with it. Oh my
Okay.
gosh. Oh,
Anyway,
crying.
point being, you can go and get your own really large size ghost ship
Oh man. You know what's interesting?
to go with your large body pillow.
Yes. Um, I think Rolls-Royce, all of their cars now have ghost names.
Okay, did they really?
Yeah, I
All
think
I'm
the
thinking about that is that reel that's going around right now of the girl with the Bentley. Ding. You know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And people like doing the one I saw today was someone
Uh,
doing it with their bike.
nice.
It was really funny. So like when she's like running her fingers along the grill, the guy's running his fingers along his brake
Along the
cords.
spokes and stuff. Yeah, I saw
Yes,
one with
and that
a Ford Focus this morning.
that's
Ford
amazing.
Focus.
That's my car.
Is it?
Yeah. That's all I've been driving for 11
Oh
years.
yeah. You're right. You're right. Of course you're right. You know what you drive.
I know what I drive.
I don't know why I didn't make that connection right away. Yeah, but Rolls-Royce has, I believe, the Phantom, the Wraith, which is a different type of spirit.
Oh,
They might have a ghost, but yeah,
yeah.
they're all ghostly names. But yeah, so it's cool. It was cool to see that in action. You're right. Um, two things that let you know that you're on the right track when you're trying to get to the bottom of whatever the Empire is doing. One is when you get close, if somebody just draws their blaster and yells for the Empire, you're probably on the right track.
I mean, don't yell it, don't announce it while you're about to shoot. Like, just shoot.
And then immediately gets chopped down.
All of them do.
All of them. So yeah, if somebody yells that, you're probably on the right track. And then if
Mhm.
you run outside and run into an Inquisitor type dude, you're probably on the right track.
So, this is where I wanna pause for a second. Marrok
Mm-hmm.
is his name. Marrok the Inquisitor. Who is this guy? And anytime that you've got an Inquisitor wearing a mask who doesn't say a word,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, this is somebody important, right?
Yeah. Good call.
So, I mean, I haven't looked online and I'm not professing to have a theory that I think and want to be true or think, but like,
But
I'm, I'm, s- I am paying attention now.
okay.
Who is this guy?
Mm-hmm.
And is it Ezra? I'm just saying. I'm not
Uh
speculating. I just want to be clear. I'm not speculating. I'm not saying it is or it
you're
isn't.
just asking the question.
I'm just seeing I know I've seen this game before when you put a
Hmm.
mask on somebody and then you take the mask off, it's something shocking. So, who is it?
I thought maybe they didn't show his face or the voice because perhaps it's a woman.
Okay.
I don't know
No,
who.
who could it be?
I don't know who it would be, but you're totally right. You don't totally disguise the identity of somebody unless like they're another nameless droid, or they pull the mask off at some point this season, and everybody goes, "Oh, I can't believe
It's Snoke.
it." Snoke's back. Somehow Snoke has returned.
It's no, it's young Snoke.
Baby Snoke?
It's teenage Snoke.
Oh, what a little
Baby
punk.
Snoke. Okay, well, I guess here's the other thing I'm thinking about. How is there an Inquisitor still? Like, I thought we got rid of them all.
And
right?
whose ship did he jump on?
Shin's.
I guess.
Yeah, because Shin was there too, overseeing the transfer.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, again, I'm just, and it was fun because I didn't really pick up that he was in some scenes before, but like now that I was really just like, who is this guy? Like he
Mhm.
was all over episode 1 and the second episode in a couple of scenes, just like standing there in the background.
Oh, really? I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, so he's like next to Morgan Elsbeth and is a big part. So again, I'm just
Oh.
trying to figure out who this guy is. It could also be that he's just like, you know, gonna be easier to dispatch and make it so you don't feel anything about it because you don't see his face. You don't
That
feel
could be
like it,
true as well.
right? But again, I'm just wondering all the talk of
Oh.
Ezra and then seeing him being a great foe, and we know that Ezra had some temptations for the dark side too. So
Mhm.
like, there's anyway. Sorry, I can't help shake the thought.
Okay. All right. Well, I hope we'll find out who's under that mask. I hope it's not the case that it's like he gets offed at some point and it's like, all right, he was just sort of a faceless Inquisitor. I hope we get under there.
I mean, it would be also really cool if it was like the Grand Inquisitor all of a sudden. Like that would be kind of neat. But
Mhm.
I mean, that would mean I'm pretty sure it's not.
Yeah.
Given episodes that we've covered in episode 2
Yeah.
or season 2. Sorry.
Seems like it would be a stretch, but all right, we'll find out. But all right. So what are they doing? They're trying to get this big hyperdrive thing to connect it to like their hyperspace ring, which
Yeah.
I guess they like what the Jedi were doing, and they're like, let's just build one of those, but bigger and better. And I guess that's meant to transport the extraction team to the Denab system to bring back Thrawn.
Is it the Denab? I thought the starting point was the Denab system. I can't.
You're
That's a
right.
good
You're right.
question.
I think that's where that's where they're going from. Like that's one of the places to point them in the right direction if they pass through there.
I think the interesting part, yeah, because the interesting part is like this is the galaxy over.
It's not the same galaxy.
We're leaving the galaxy and
Yeah.
going to another. Like this is
That's a big trip.
This is nuts. Yeah, exactly. Big trip.
You're right. All that stuff about like outer rim, core planets, blah blah blah. That's all referring to this specific galaxy
Right.
that Star Wars typically takes place in. So we're saying we're going to leave that all together, and we're
go
going to
to
go
a completely new one.
a completely different galaxy.
Yeah.
Which is really a really cool idea. But
Cool
I
idea.
could see why they need all
Yeah.
these, I guess, souped up propulsion systems, whatever else.
Yeah. It'll be really interesting to see how that gets used, and then also if the Purrgil that we were teased again.
Yeah.
More Purrgil teased. If that comes into play as well.
Well, let me ask you: did you watch the closing credits of the episodes?
I mean, I watched the artistic form ones.
Yeah. Really interesting, right?
Yeah,
Like,
because it was like a star map being plotted.
it's a star map, and you're traveling through it, and there are different things, different visuals that pop up. Like, there's a wolf in the very beginning, which I'm assuming is Dave Filoni's continuing wolf obsession.
Well, it could be the sure exception. It's also the ones on Lothal too. They could have a connection to that.
True. But then there are some Purrgil.
Yeah.
Or at least like stylized Purrgil type cartoony characters that really look like that. at some point. And so I'm wondering what else is kind of like in that map that we'll be seeing over the course of the season that's going to be relevant to the story in some way.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton to look forward to.
Yeah.
And I feel like these first 2 episodes they're really well written. They
Yeah.
were exciting. They had good action. There's a lot of intrigue. There was some great dialogue. Fantastic dialogue. I wrote down
Awesome.
so many lines.
Awesome dialogue, awesome interpersonal relationships between the characters that seem
Yeah.
like heavy and seem like they have a history. Great performances.
Yeah.
Just good, all super high production quality. And this is I mean, I think Dave Filoni's still in the single digits of live action things that he's directed. And the first episode was probably like his 5th thing or something. So
Yeah.
so far so good.
Yeah.
But speaking of which, so Steph Green directed episode 2. Steph Green also directed episode 3. We've got Dave Filoni coming back later in the season, and Rick Famuyiwa is going to do the finale.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
So buckle up for that. And a couple other new names in between, but we'll talk about them as we get to them.
That's cool. I mean, that's really cool. I love how they're all like, because Steph Green was one of the episodes in season 3 of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Which we got earlier this year, and then Rick Famuyiwa was the like main writer or like main producer of season 3, right? So he had
and directed some episodes
and directed I think like the last 2. So he's
yeah.
Oh, this is gonna be good.
Yeah. So they're gonna bring him in as the closer, and I'm sure it's gonna be fantastic.
All right, 2 more things before we wrap up. One, I'll say I really loved the last scene of episode 2 where Baylan is reflecting on Ahsoka and says the line about like to kill Ahsoka would be a shame, and Morgan Elsbeth asks if it's sentimental, and he just responds with, "Oh, truth. Like there are very few Jedi left, and to kill anyone of those Force users is a shame and should not be taken lightly." Right.
Yeah.
Again, just shows how dynamic he is as a character, that he's not in it for he's just a mercenary. He'll take any job that he takes.
Yeah.
He'll go up against a Jedi if he's paid well to do it, but he doesn't really want to because he doesn't want to be the last Force user left in the galaxy, right?
Yeah. And I think I thought about Cad Bane a little bit, where Cad Bane was like a little bit cold, but would take the time to be like, hey, it's not personal. It ain't you. It's, I'm just, and like he had a little bit of complexity. And I think Baylan is like that times 10, where that line alone made him a way more complex character than what we saw leading up to that point.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree.
I wonder what conflicts he's going to face. I wonder when he comes to a crossroads, if he's going to be wondering which way he should go, or if he's just going to do whatever he's got to do for a paycheck.
Yeah, that's true. I guess we'll find out, and it'll be really interesting because I think he's a very complex character and has a lot more to dive into. The other thing that I just wanted to ask real quick is the volume. Do we know how much the volume was used in this? And I'm asking too, like partly because I felt like with some of the times it was used in the past, like you could really tell. I couldn't really tell if it was being used in anything.
You're totally right. I didn't even think about it, but there were no moments where I was like, I can kind of see what they did here.
Yeah, exactly.
Not at all.
So if they used it and I didn't notice, awesome.
Brilliant.
If they didn't use it, it makes me wonder, what are they thinking about the volume and how it's being used moving forward? Are they supplementing it with more live? I mean, they used it a ton in Mandalorian season 3, and we could see it. And that's what's tough about it, is like when you can see it, it does become a bit of a distraction.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate still what they're able to accomplish with it and how it's moving forward the craft of filmmaking.
100%. Yeah, it's a technological step forward, and with all of those things, sometimes there's little kinks to work out. But I never once thought like, okay, I feel like I see the edge of the volume. I feel like I see what they did here.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything with the effects that took me out of the story at all.
Same. No, they were really good so far, which I
Yeah.
know has been uh, something that's been tough lately for a few of them because Hollywood's really struggling with keeping
Big
costs
time.
low, and part of the big costs are CGI. So
Well, then they were struggling with keeping costs down and not being able to do all the things they wanted to do because we were still in the COVID era. Now that
right,
we're coming out of
yeah,
it, it's a little less complicated, but new
yep,
complications have popped up.
exactly.
But
That's all
all
I
right.
got.
Yep, I've had it. Okay.
I've had it with you too. All right, let's just call it a night. It's a wrap.
I'm just messing around. I enjoy our conversations.
No, but hey, it is good to be back, and it's good to have a conversation on some good content that's out there
Oh
again.
my gosh, yeah.
Always good to have new Star Wars content to talk about, and it's always fun to talk about it with you, man. So thank you,
Yeah.
thank you to all
Likewise.
of our listeners, and
Thank you, bro.
hopefully, hopefully they didn't all leave us because they're like, where are these guys? They're not even coming around. Oh, screw them, you know.
I hope not, and I feel like we've gotten some like nice reviews and stuff like that on like Spotify and whatever else. We've gotten some 5 stars, and we appreciate that. So it's great to be back. Always love talking Star Wars with you, dude.
Yeah,
And documenting it because I feel like we're talking about it all the time, but
yeah,
it's just it's nice to capture some of these things. And thank you guys for listening. We hope you've had a great summer. Thank you to Rural Farm Boy who sent us a really nice voice message today, and was checking in. It was just really nice to hear from him. So we hope you're doing well, dude. And thank you to everybody else who's been connecting with us on Twitter at Starbros Podcast, sending us emails, thestarbrospodcast@gmail.com. I'm just kidding. Nobody has sent us emails. But you can if you want to. And we're excited to reconnect with the community and hear what other people are thinking about Ahsoka. What do you love about it? Where do you think the story's going? Like, let's have that conversation. But thank you guys for listening. We appreciate you.
Yes, thank you. We will be back, and actually, usually we do every other week, but you are going on a wonderful vacation, and so we are going to be back in 3 weeks
Yep.
to cover the next 3 episodes of Ahsoka that we'll have to cover then. So we'll be back to talk in 3 weeks' time.
Yeah.
Until then, enjoy Ahsoka. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, give us a shout out in all the places that Jan just mentioned. Be the first to drop us an email that's not from some spam. That'd be great. leave us a rating on anywhere that you get your podcast. It's always helpful too.
Yes, please.
Until then, we'll talk to you next time. No, what do we say? I'm out of tune. What do we do?
Yeah, no, we do something.
We do something. And
You
it's my
do
turn to do it.
Yeah.
Oh man, I gotta remember what that was. Do we say it's a Philly cheesesteak wrap?
Now you've got my attention.
It's a wrap.
Perfect.